So yeah, welcome back everybody to episode 3 of Art to Heart, where we talk about film and health with our favourite filmmakers. We're talking to Anne Brown today, writer of Mum's World, which was screened last year at the first ever Manchester Health Film Festival 2024, a film about dementia, showcasing the effects of dementia, not just on the person living with dementia, but more importantly, on the family. So Anne, take it away. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes, well, they already know I'm Anne Brown because you just told them.
Yes, true.
What am I? I'm a writer by accident. I'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards. I never set out to be a writer, but I ended up doing it. COVID had something to do with that, and I discovered that I had an ability to do that. Started writing stories, which somehow ended up as scripts, and people read them and wanted to perform them. Nothing that I've done that's been put on a stage or on film has been because I planned it. It's just happened. It's been lovely. It's just life flowing and going with that flow.
Interesting. So how did you, obviously you say you became a writer in COVID, what led to you even getting to that point? I know you've got quite an interesting history.
Yeah, Well, I always say that it's to do with the woman that came to talk to me on the park bench in Torrevieja in Spain. So I was sitting on a bench watching my then 4-year-old on the slide, and this woman appeared from nowhere, and she came and sat down next to me, started talking to me. She was from up north. Now, I hadn't lived up north at that point, and I was quite an insular person, and she wasn't. So she was asking me all these personal questions, and for some reason she managed to make me open up. And she asked me about my son and his father, where was he? And that was quite a difficult story to tell, and it caused her to cry.
Wow.
It affected her so badly. And when she left me, she put a hand on my shoulder and she walked away and she said, "You should write a book." Which I thought was absolutely ridiculous because I had no idea how to do that. And then but a few years later, I came back to England because I'd been living in Spain at the time. And this had stayed with me for some reason, this comment. And I started going to some free writing classes in Hebden Bridge, where I lived at the time. Discovered that I had the ability to write things that people paid attention to. And it went from there. The people who were in the class who were writing with me, they would come up with poems or full stories within the 10-minute free writing period that we had. Wow. And what I came up with, I didn't know what it was, but people were listening to it. And my tutor said, "It's a monologue. You've written a monologue." And so I carried on just writing monologues, and then we had COVID. And I'd got actor friends by now, and because none of us could work or do anything, a couple of them said to me, "Will you write a 2-hander so that we can record it on Zoom, just to keep ourselves sane?" So I did. So that was the first 2-hander that I wrote for 2 friends, and that ended up becoming a 3-part little mini-series on the internet, and it's just grown from there. The other thing that happened with the writing was it gave me an income because it caused me to look at the possibility of becoming a funeral celebrant. So I did that for best part of 7 years. Now that is storytelling. You know, that's sitting down with families who've recently become bereaved and asking lots of questions about the person that they've just lost so that you can write a story about them that's going to be about 15-20 minutes long. And yeah, so I did that for 20 years. 20 years.
Wow.
God, no, it wasn't 20 years. No, 20 minutes a time. So I did that for 7 years, and without me even realising it honed my ability to write stories. And so from there, opportunities have just happened to present themselves, and I've always gone, yes, okay.
Wow. What was it feeling like at the time for you to be able to execute that?
To be able to write it, it's a privilege for a start, because you're with people at the worst time in their life. It's a big it's a big commitment because they're trusting you, you know. And some of them were more difficult than others for me, because especially if they'd lost a family member in perhaps the same way as I had, or a friend in the same way as I had, because you have to cut yourself off from that.
Yeah.
So there was lots of deep breathing sometimes when people are telling you their stories. But yeah, privilege more than anything else. And the reason I was attracted to it was when I'd gone to funerals years ago for my parents, my grandparents, they were always awful experiences for me. It just so happened that they were religious ceremonies, and we weren't particularly religious, so therefore it wasn't directed so much at the person that we'd lost. It was about where they'd gone and things like that, which didn't necessarily mean so much to us because we didn't believe that. So it was nice to have the option for people who aren't religious, so that they can have the comfort of having a different sort of a service. So for me, to be able to give a different kind of service that I knew would suit those people, rather than what we'd gone through with our experiences.
Yeah,
that was
it's a lot more personal.
Yeah,
feels like
a lovely
more
thing.
Yeah, more personal send off.
If you do have a faith, then it's absolutely essential, of course, that somebody conducts the service in the way that's important to you. But not all of us feel the same way. It's just an option.
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting career path, actually. I'd never even considered that was a job. So many people come in and tell us so many different things. I'm like, I didn't even know that was an option.
I know. It's more well known now, but when I first started doing it 7 years ago, if I met anybody new and they asked me what I did, I'd say a funeral celebrant, and they'd go, oh, what? And the amount of times people called me a celibate, well, I don't know, that's something completely different.
Yeah. You told me a very beautiful story of how the script came to be. Could you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind it, and then maybe a little bit more on how it got developed to be a film?
Yes. So how did it come about? Right. My mother passed away in 2021. In the March from, she had dementia, she was 84 years old. And some weeks after that, somebody put a call out on Facebook for a charity event that they were doing. And they said, anybody's got experience of this and would like to talk about it, come along and we'll make some money. So I wrote a little story about one moment of my mum's journey, as it were. And I went and I told that story, and again it went down really well. But I put it away in a drawer, and it wasn't until some time later there was a short play competition going on, and for some reason that story came to my head, and I thought I could actually turn that story into something for actors. It only needed to be 15 minutes. And that's what I did. So it was a play to start with, and the very basis of that moment was a conversation that I had with my mum on the telephone. I used to, when she was poorly, I used to ring her 3 times a week to check on her. She lived a long way away, so I wasn't able to get to her. And we'd always have the same conversation over and over again. And there was this one particular occasion when she was, I didn't realise, but she was hallucinating at the time, which is common with dementia patients. And she saw things that weren't there. And so I'm on the end of the phone sort of visualising what she's seeing. And it was really powerful, and it stayed with me. And I rang my brother to get round to Mum's house quick, go and sort her out. And that's where it came from. Because my father also died with dementia, but many years prior. So my mum was 84, my dad was 61, and he died in 1997. His started when he was in his 50s. And there was no internet then either, so the information that we as a family had about it was limited.
Yeah.
And the trauma that we went through of that illness was just appalling. I don't know how we got through it, to be honest. But then many years later, when Mum had got it, because things were known about it more, and because we'd had that experience, we were able to manage my mum's illness in a different way, treat her in a different way than what we treated my father. So that helped her, or appeared to help her, and it certainly helped us as well. So I really wanted to tell that story, because it's like, we do it all the time, don't we? We say things like, I wish I knew then what I know now.
Yeah, absolutely.
About all sorts of subjects. And I heard myself saying, I wish I knew that when Dad was ill. And then it's such a, right, you do know it now. Tell it to other people. Because it's too late to tell it to myself.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But if I can be if I can tell that story, then fantastic, it might help somebody else. And I know from the feedback that we have that it did, and it probably continues to do so. So, and that in turn helps me cope with those memories.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, sort of turning that grief into good in a way, and putting it out there. No, I think that's really beautiful. I know I spoke to Keith at the festival, and he kind of explained that it was a stage play initially.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
So how did that work out? How did it go from stage to screen?
Well, so it was a stage play, and Keith was a mature student at LIPA, filmmaker, and he came to watch it one night because he was very friendly with Allan, who was one of the actors who's in it. So we got to the end of the show, and we were chatting. I'd never met him before. We were chatting, and he was very complimentary about it. He said, that'd make a great film, by which time I knew he was making a film. I says, right, well, I'm up for it if you are. And that's exactly what happened. So it was just a meeting of minds, I'm very much, me personally, I'll look out for opportunities and we'll say yes, just to see where it leads, because it's always, in my experience, led somewhere better and greater. You always learn something from it. I didn't expect him to just go, yeah, all right then, and then we did. And it was wonderful, and we just all got together at my house. Cost me a fortune in bacon butties,
Yeah, I bet.
And the electric bill went up because of all the coffee and tea that they wanted. They were terribly demanding, But other than that, it didn't cost me anything. It was a joy to do. And again, another healing time for me, to be able to be with people like that and make that film from what was such a really dreadful time.
We say that a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
About it being therapeutic.
It's very therapeutic. Like rewatching it again, it was just something that it kind of gave me back the me watching it at the festival. And I think there's a way you communicated with some comedy in it. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, people can still watch. I'm sure they can find it.
Yeah, and there's always comedy in all of these things that we go through, isn't there? We might not realise it at the time, but it's always there. So to take it out of that, telling that story would be wrong, and it would also be very depressing. But yeah, my brother and I, we laughed a lot during those years, because it's a coping mechanism in the moment, I think, isn't it? The first thing that I wrote that I staged was also about a difficult subject. That was a monologue, and I performed that myself. And that I'm a domestic abuse survivor, so it was about that experience that I had. And there's loads of laughter in that, and you wouldn't think that you could ever find it, but of course there was,
Yeah, I suppose it's when you're at your lowest, all you can do is laugh, right?
Yeah.
And wait for better days.
Yeah.
And I do find comedy and drama go hand in hand. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful piece. I think in my own life and in my family, there's sort of been 2 cases of dementia that kind of really affected me. One of which was my great uncle. Now, I think he was one of 8 siblings.
Cool.
Okay.
So you can imagine everybody had a different opinion, and that could be a whole limited series in itself. But my granddad, he had dementia, and that was one I was a bit more close to. And I saw my stepdad and his brother. Now, they were the only 2 kids in that situation, so I saw how they interacted.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I think you've captured it very, very well. The casting is brilliant.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure how much say you had in that. But I'm pretty sure.
Pretty much 100%.
100%. That's great. You made
That's
some good
helpful.
decisions. So Michaela, who plays Charlie.
Yeah.
unbelievable performance. Like, I know obviously we sort of begin the film where it's a bit more, as Kondwani said, it's a bit more quippy and kind of a bit more sarcastic, like, oh, you know, going through the motions again. But all of a sudden we get to this point where it's almost rock bottom, and you see her character really is dragged down, and I'm sure you channeled your own experiences into that.
Yeah.
And don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but the relationship with her brother is tested, as a lot of people can imagine.
Yeah.
I think you do a really wonderful, you portray it very well. And I think it's very grounded and very realistic and very emotional as well, which these things have to be, with an uplifting ending, I would say.
Yeah.
But casting was brilliant.
They were good, weren't
how
they?
did it change though, from stage to screen? Was there many changes in the dialogue or anything, or is it pretty much?
No, it's pretty much
verbatim?
it's pretty much the same. It didn't change very much at all. Of course, with film we had the added ability to change location and different shots, which was lovely. You know, the way they put it together. But nothing very much other than that changed, and it was the same cast on stage as it was on the film, because everybody was just doing it for free. So I knew nearly all the cast prior to us doing the play anyway. But by the time we'd finished that, we were all mates, as you tend to be once you're thrown together.
It's like family, isn't it?
Yes, in any creative project, you become really close, don't you? At least for a little while.
Certainly do.
And we've stayed friends, and we're in touch, you know, still. And I dare say we'll work together again.
So what about that cast specifically? What made you choose them? Was there anything that I mean, obviously they're all very talented, so I'm sure that helped, but was there any connections that you saw between them and the material that other people could look out for when casting their own films?
Thinking back, I didn't actually have 100% say on who it was when I think about it now, because of the way the competition worked for the play, which is what it started off as. But the people who were organising the play know me well enough and know my work well enough to know who to choose, you know. So when they told me who the cast were, I had no objections at all, because I trusted them, because they knew the story, the people who were choosing the actors. Going forwards, I've got another short film that I've written, which will be... It's ready to go once we've raised some money, because this time we're paying people.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
And I have chosen all the actors for that as well. And again, I've chosen them because I've seen them work. I know how good they are, and trust them. What it's like if you've got to actually hand over a piece of work and have no say in it. So with Mum's World, if somebody had been cast that really, I think I may well have been able to have a bit of a say on that, you know.
Yeah.
But what it's like to do that, just to hand a piece of work over, I've no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I've for the most part kind of written and directed things. I've directed things that other people have written, and I have written things that other people have directed, but that's only ever been in a circumstance where I've kind of got a bit of sway. You know, Lupo Monero, we very close friends, directed that, and I kind of helped out a lot, so felt a bit more reassured. But it must be very scary just being like, there you go.
Yeah.
And you take it.
Which side do you prefer to be? Having written it, someone else directed, or the other way around?
If I had to choose one, I'd rather direct something that somebody else had written.
Okay.
But I'd rather do both.
I'd rather do both. Write it and direct it.
Yeah. Have you ever directed anything?
No, I wouldn't.
So how is this, like Mum's World, working on it, writing it for stage, taking it to screen? How has this changed your approach to filmmaking? Do you see it more as an advocacy tool now than before, and more for education and entertainment, or is there a blend of both for you?
Yeah, definitely a blend of both. I didn't know anything about storytelling on a stage or on film. I didn't realise quite the power of it until I did Green Door, which was my one-woman show, which was about my story of domestic abuse. And what came out of that storytelling on a stage and then we live streamed one in COVID as well. It's phenomenal. The good that's come out of that. Can I tell you a bit about that?
Please do.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So I'd done some performances of at the beginning of 2020 of Green Door in small venues around Manchester, and we were due to be on in Halifax in April. The theatre got closed down. So we decided that we would live stream it. Of course, we were under great restrictions at the time, so we had to find basically a cave to put me in. I was the only one without a mask. Everybody else was a long way away from me in masks. It was done live, so when you see it, it's very rough because it was just live, you know. So at some points I'm talking and you can see my belly button, you know. You're looking at my belly button. But we asked people if they would donate a little bit of money for a charity that we were supporting, and they sent that money in, and we gave it to this charity, and this charity took it. They ran with it. They're a charity in Halifax, and they look after children who live in homes where they witness domestic abuse.
Wow.
They created a little package, filmed package that they could show to other organisations, who then gave them lots more money to allow them to create a programme specifically to work with children, which is now... This gets me every time, sorry. It's helped hundreds of families in the Calderdale region of Yorkshire. Hundreds of children because of that story, that stream, and those people giving that money, and then the charity running with it. Just lots of lovely, great people coming together and making that happen. And we all did it for nothing. We did it for the love of it, you know, and it just really opens my eyes to how true it is, you know, how powerful love is, you know, what it can do. So by the time I'd done that, I'm very well aware then of the power of story, which was why I wanted to tell that story about, tell Mum's World, because I have been through some things in life. Yeah. I think if I tell you about this, it might help you not go through it, which in turn helps me to feel better about my life, you know. It's not all just pure selfishness on my part. Yeah. I get something out of it as well.
A selfish deed in doing something good. Do you know what? You've touched on something very important there, and I think the fact that able to channel something negative, you know, the very terrible experience, channeling that, communicating that, and then being able to connect with people beyond what you would have ever imagined in terms of impact, that's powerful, because that's basically raising awareness and reaching out to the public. And for every person, I always say this, you know, doing impact reports and everything, evaluations, for every statistic and number, there's a human being behind that. And that's somebody's life. Yeah. And that somebody's life is connected to other people's lives. And that's what forms a family and community. So that's beautiful. And it's great to see that, you know, you carried on and you went into create Mum's World, because, I mean, it's a powerful piece just on its own, and finding out more about the creative and behind it, I mean, it's so powerful, and it makes sense now. It makes sense.
Oh yeah, and that what you just told us then is beautiful. I mean, like, you're speaking our language here, because that's what we talk about, is the power of cinema, and using film as an advocacy tool. So I mean, that's really something to be proud of, you know.
It's when I thought about it, I thought, gosh, it just makes sense, because going back like millions of years, when human beings just first started walking the earth, even before we had speech, we would communicate with each other in story, wouldn't we, to help each other and teach each other and show each other things. And this is just a continuation of that. Whole life is about telling stories, sharing your experiences, and helping people, hopefully, that come after us.
Let's say once upon a time this would be a fire, and we all sat around and then chatting and sharing ideas and life experiences and where not to go.
And if it can't fix somebody's problem, it can show them they're not alone. And if it's something that can't be fixed and just has to be dealt with, it shows that people have gone through it before and people have made it out, and that's what people need to know sometimes, I think. So can you tell us anything about your new project? You mentioned it earlier. Is there anything you can tell, or an outline you can give us?
Well, I've got 2 projects on the go at the moment.
Okay.
One is a short film which I wrote quite a long time ago, and I have got a producer, director, and we're slowly just doing, because we're both busy doing other things, we're slowly just doing a bit here and a bit there to get it moving forward. It's a short film, again. It's called Enabling Cain. And it's the story, the central character is a young boy who lives in a home where he witnesses domestic abuse.
Okay.
There's lots of stories are told about domestic abuse now, which is fabulous, because you never used to see it dealt with like it is now. But it's usually from the woman's point of view, sometimes from the man's point of view, not so often dealing with the child. So it talks about his experiences, shows his experiences, but it's particularly concentrating on the fact that there are lots of organisations out there, charities usually, that are working to help in the domestic abuse arena and to help children, yet they're hideously underfunded, as is anything good in the world usually. And it shows his story of how things are, how they could be, and how they end up.
Wow.
So the producer is in the moment just getting the GoFundMe campaign up and running, and then once we've got some money in the bank, I'm putting some in myself, because it's a project that I really believe in. And again, it's based on personal experience as well, a very personal story.
How much are you trying to raise?
We're looking for 30,000 because we want to absolutely pay everybody properly, because anything I've ever done so far has been done for nothing, for love. And I want to be able to pay people, and we'd like to have some recognisable names as well, so that we can raise the profile of it. And because I know so many Manchester actors now, I might not necessarily be in contact with the bigger names, but they are, so we've got access, just need to find some money to be able to offer to them.
That's it.
So that's that one. But the other project, which I'm really excited about, I'm working on right at the moment now. This is a play, and it's on at 53-2, which is a small theatre in Manchester. It's on. This is its 3rd outing. They have a Christmas musical every year, and it's written by a group of writers in a writers' room. And this year I've been invited to be one of those writers.
Wow.
So starting
Congrats.
from those little 2-hour creative writing classes in Hebden, I've worked through to now working in a writer's room, which is what I've wanted to do for a long time. So we're in the process of creating that. We've got our deadline is looming for the second draft, and mine's in. I don't know about the others, but mine's in. And Monday next week we get to hear it, so a bunch of actors get together and we get to hear it and then make the final tweaks, and that's on for from the 10th to the 23rd of December in Manchester. So I'm aiming to go to everyone. And somebody said to me, they said, "And you don't have to go, you know, you're the writer, you don't have to go." I said, "I know that." I want to. This is so big and exciting for me.
Yeah, of course.
Really excited, because I can still not quite believe that I do this sort of thing now. From where I was to where I am now is a massive leap. And if you'd have told me, 15 years ago, it all started to turn around gradually. If anyone had said I would be doing anything like this, I would have said that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I was very literally beaten down going back to 2009 is when it started to turn, because I met a motivational speaker who gave me this fantastic piece of advice, which I followed, which has led me to where I am now. It totally and utterly changed my life.
That's amazing.
Which is again why I tell these stories, because if somebody hears something out of it, it could, you know.
I'm sure it has, probably without you even knowing.
Yeah.
Has there been any reactions that have stayed in your mind? I mean, obviously you've told us about the charity that sort of picked up the monologue and changed hundreds of lives, but has there been any like audience reactions that really stood out to you? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the audience reactions for that, for for Green Door were astounding. I had no idea. I started telling that story is just a very short 20-minute piece, and it was again charity night somebody was putting on in aid of mental health, and they said to me, can you come, and they thought it was a play, and I said, can you come and do a bit of your play? And I said, it's not a play. I said, it's just I've written down some things that happened to me. And they said, well, can you come and read some of it? So I went along, but I'd got a director, because I said, I can't just stand there and read it, it'd be boring. So we made it into a 20-minute sort of one-woman play. But even when I was going along, I thought, I don't think anybody's going to be interested in this. You know, this is just me moaning on about what a terrible life I've had. You know, who's going to be interested in that? Oh my God, it was astonishing. So at the end, we stayed behind for 3 hours.
Wow.
Because people were wanting to talk to me or talk to us about it. Women, not all women, because there were some men there who, as children, had witnessed it in their homes, and women crying, talking to me. Yeah, that was astounding, and really opened my mind. That's what opened my mind to the power of storytelling. And we've shown Mum's World at other places as well where we've been, and again the feedback has been the same. So we know it has an effect.
Yeah, I mean they do say, don't they, the best thing you can do is after abuse is to go be successful at what you want to be successful at.
Yeah.
And that can show your abuser that you're successful and more powerful than they can ever be. Without ever getting revenge in a physical sense or even a direct sense. It's like the best friends you can have is just going and living your life and doing what you want to do, and I think you're a perfect example of that.
Well, 100% right. And fully enough, you use the word revenge, because you do go through, when you've been through that, you go through a period when you want revenge, and I certainly wanted that. And I never wrote Green Door as a revenge piece at all, but when I look at it, I'm thinking, actually, that was my revenge, if you like, in as much as it brought me back out into the world as a person instead of this little mouse that I'd become. You know.
Is there any other advice you'd give to first-time filmmakers or young filmmakers, I suppose screenwriters or people writing for stage? Is there any advice that springs to your mind that you could give people who are just starting out?
They always say when they're teaching you to write, my teacher did, write what you know for a start off. And there's for me, I pulled against that, because I thought, well, I know about this and this, but nobody's going to be interested in anything I know, because we put ourselves down. Yet we are actually the most fascinating people, you know, to other people. We just don't realise it. So write what you know for a start off. For me to write the things that I have done, I'm just telling people pretty much what's happened to me. You know, there's not much that's been changed there's no artistic license in there. So that's absolutely the best piece of advice of what to write in the first place. And then there are so many opportunities around as well to get your work out there. If you look, especially online now, there's always call outs for scripts for short plays that they're going to be put on here, there or everywhere. You know, and you just say yes, basically, you know. So that was a piece of advice that someone gave to me many, many years ago when my first marriage broke down, and I was like, down in the dumps. If anybody invites you anywhere, just say yes, she says, and go, even if you think it sounds awful, because you never know where it's going to lead. I'd also say listen more than you speak as well, you know, because just being on a train, some of the conversations that you hear, and I've got my phone out all the time writing down phrases, you know, because it's just gold. There's gold all around you if you just listen, you know.
I mean, you've given advice, and you've sort of answered all our questions so well. I suppose one of my closing questions would kind of be, what would you like your legacy to be as a writer or as a creative? Like, how would you like your work to be remembered, and what purpose would you like them to serve going forward?
No pressure.
Blimey. I'm glad of the things that have come out of what I've written so far. It'd be nice to have something that's like a feature film or something like that. because my love of film came from being a child and watching old Hollywood movies from the 30s and the 40s. That's when I fell in love with that. So it was all very glamorous for me. So for me to have a film written by, and whatever my name is then, because I might get married again, I've done it twice.
Amen.
You never know. I'd like that. But the fact that I think the work that's been done by the charity in Halifax with the children, that's hopefully will continue. It's just a funding issue whether they'll be able to keep going. But even if nothing else comes out of anything I've done, the fact that I've done that is insane in my mind, that my story helped make that happen.
I suppose then, where can people find you if people want to work with you or see your stuff or get in contact? Where's best? I'm
all over the internet. I'm Anne Brown, which there's billions of us because it's a very common name. But if you go to if you Google Anne Brown Manchester, you're likely to find me.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I've got a website where you can see Green Door if you want to. That's madeittheatre.co.uk. So you can still see that if you want to see that. And I'm on YouTube as well. So you can't miss me, to be honest.
The inspiration from what you've shared, I think, will go also far beyond this room, that I know for 100%. Sure. And yeah, your pieces of art already speak for themselves. So there's a heart in them.
Thank you. I think I'd like to perhaps just finish with just talking to the women out there who are perhaps in a situation that I was, suffering domestic abuse. You can't see that you're in it when you're in it a lot of the time. You think it's your own fault because you're told so often that it's your own fault. And I reached the point in my life where I was ready to let go of my life because it was so bad. The person I am now is completely different to the person I was then. And it was because I was able to take a step out of that relationship, which was the hardest thing to do. But I did it and just trusted that something better would happen. And something better did happen. And something better always happens. So if there's anybody listening to who's in that position, you don't have to stay. Get out and change your life for far better life than the one you've got at the moment.
You're an inspiration for sure. I mean, if you're inspiring me, I'm sure there's a lot of women out there who will take that. So thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for sharing.
It's been a pleasure. Very, very inspiring.
It's been lovely to see you again. It really has. And thank you for inviting us to show the film in the first place. That was another great day for us, apart from the fact that it cost me 60 quid in an Uber to get home. Because they'd cancelled all the trains because it was snowing that night, if you remember.
If you had a piece of film, would you submit it again for next year's?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, it was a really good day. Yeah, we had it was lovely for all of us to be together, but to watch the films, and as you touched on earlier, there were stories in there that I didn't know about, and it adds more compassion to the world.